When I first started out as a police officer, I got stuck with the graveyard shift. All the rookies in my department have to do it for at least a year. The unnatural sleep schedule alone is exhausting, not to mention the fact that the craziest, weirdest stuff happens in the middle of the night. One minute you're bored out of your mind. The next, you're stopping a burning down a homeless encampment with a gallon of gasoline. However, the kind of things that really stick with me aren't always so flashy. There's one night I think about all the time, and it happened in my first week on the night shift. Back then, I was working with a partner who was showing me the ropes. We were on patrol, rolling through the empty streets with no one in sight. Around 3 a.m., we passed by a restaurant and noticed there was a dim light on inside. We both agreed the place had been completely unlit the last time we saw it that same night, so we decided to check it out. Strangely, the front door was unlocked, but other than that, nothing seemed out of place. We opened the door and shouted inside, "Hello? Anyone in here?" Our voices echoed through the empty building with no response. Something didn't feel right. The light wasn't in the dining area, but coming from the back of the restaurant, yet I could have sworn the source was visible through the window just a minute earlier. It was like it had moved. I entered the building, followed by my partner. He ordered me to go check out the back while he stayed in the front in case anyone came running, but I was already making my way to the kitchen. There were no windows in there, no street lights pouring in, just me and that warm but dim light I was chasing. It seemed to have moved again, now coming from behind a door that was slightly open. Once again, I announced my presence. "Police, come on out." Nothing, not a sound. I approached the door and opened it. I was met with a set of stairs down to the basement, but still no light source. I shouted back to my partner that I was going down to the sublevel, and by the time I looked back, the light was gone, swallowed by the basement. Unholstering my flashlight, I shined it down the steps. It was never as bright as I wanted it to be, but it was just enough to see as I made my way down. At the bottom, I discovered the switches didn't turn anything on. As for the initial light, I saw it when I looked up. It was coming through a ceiling vent. Immediately, my mind went to fire. I even reached for my radio and was about to call the fire department, but then I hesitated. I didn't see or smell any smoke, and the light had only gotten dimmer, not grown brighter like fire. Confused, I walked directly underneath the vent and shined my light at it. Yet again, there was nothing to see. My flashlight outshone whatever was casting the other light, and when I turned my flashlight away, the original glow I was after finally just disappeared. At this point, I was really scratching my head, trying to figure out what the hell I was seeing. Eventually, I decided it was nothing and started going up the stairs. But then, at the third or fourth step, I stopped. I heard something, like rats in the walls. It was a hollow, echoey scratching. I turned around, and as the sound continued, it was coming from the same vent I was just looking at. Something was crawling around in it. I stood there for about 20 seconds, listening, until it stopped. Quietly, I made my way down the steps and underneath the vent once more. I looked up without my flashlight to see if the glow would return. I couldn't see anything, but I could hear something else. A raspy, shaky breathing. As my heart began to race, I pointed my flashlight at the vent again, this time putting it right up to the grate. The light shined through the slits and inside the vent, falling on a sight I'll never forget. A human face. It stared right at me, a look of insanity in its eyes, before shifting away and disappearing. The crawling sounds came back, louder than ever, like they were bearing down on me. After a moment of shock, I headed toward the stairs to get back to my partner. But when I looked up to the door, I saw a dark figure standing in my way. They were tall enough to fill the doorway, but the second I shined my light to get a better look, they slammed the door shut. I unholstered my gun and ran up the stairs. I tried to get through, only for the damn door to be locked. I banged on the door non-stop, calling out to my partner. Moments later, it opened, and he was on the other side, looking utterly confused. It stared right at me, a look of insanity in its eyes, before shifting away and disappearing. The crawling sounds came back, louder than ever, like they were bearing down on me. I asked him if he'd seen anyone going his way, but he said no. We'd been alone the entire time as far as he knew. I was left completely dumbfounded. I told him everything that happened and he helped me search the rest of the place. But in the end, he refused to call for backup. He told me it was best if I didn't earn a reputation for spooking myself, which I understood meant he didn't believe me. And if anyone else in the department heard about it, they'd laugh at me. Just a rookie seeing things in the graveyard shift. That night, I chose to accept it and tried to move on. But I'd never forgotten. I just don't understand. There was no way for anyone to leave the building except by going past my partner out the front door. So where did that person go? How did they even get in the vent? There was no sign of breaking and entering anywhere either, so I don't have a clue as to what they wanted. What freaks me out the most is that face I saw looking back at me. and the sight of the person who locked me in the basement. I'm just glad I got out of that situation without confrontation. Who knows what could have happened?